WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are positively taking the Maryland Crab Cake Tour back out on the road. It's all brought to you by our friends at the Maryland Lottery in conjunction with Window Nation and Goodwill. And I'll be bringing some Goodwill up to Hampstead and Greenmount Station, finally getting open for sports wagering. We've talked about it for a long time. Great crab cake. Looking forward to getting up there and seeing what Chris has done on the other side of the OTB. We've talked about it for several years now. I'll be up there on Friday. And then next week, back to the homeland, and they're lining up to meet me at Drug City at the fountain there. Yes, they have a crab cake at Drug City in Dundalk at the fountain. Chuck's putting that together for me. So that's next week on the 4th. We will be there. This guy and I are estranged at this point. We haven't been in the same room. I don't know that I'm going to make his accelerant date 2 weeks from now because I may be examining my mom's homeland. He is Bill Cole. By the way, this is starting to get like vintage, the Cole Roofing mug at this point. It's getting beaten up a little bit. Bill Cole is here. I was at a party on Monday night, sort of celebrating the CFG Bank and the naming for the new arena and all that. And Bill Cole is a name that comes up in a lot of like circles when I go around. And every time I say, so I was talking to Bill Cole, and everybody has to say, what do they say? Which one?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
no. They say, which one?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And I'm like, roofing. Oh, yeah. And then someone will say, oh, that's my Bill Cole.
Oh. Okay. I probably need a list of those people that consider me their Bill Cole. So,
well,
okay.
I consider both of you my Bill Coles, and I'm just wondering if there's more Bill Coles out there. Bill Cole's been doing Bill Cole Roofing and the family business and the Gordian Energy but more than that, you're like sort of my estranged friend. We haven't had a crab cake together in a while. We haven't been in a room together for a while. I mean, since the last time you and I got together, think about this now, right? We're getting up on an election, right? We got a naming rights for an arena. We got Baltimore Positive things going on. The Phillies are in the World Series. You never could have told me that a month ago, right? They'd be greasing down poles up there. And the Ravens are the Ravens, but this is a good time of the year to have a lot of different things to talk about. But you were in on the arena thing, right? So maybe that's a good jumping off point for you because that's created quite a buzz because people are seeing the pictures and the dust. I haven't been down to the site, but I've been around some of the folks that are selling suites and selling some of the energy around it. And I like the energy around it a lot. The notion that Bruce Springsteen's checking in here in 6 months and we're going to get down there and see it, that's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I think, we have this, I don't know, maybe you can help me with my vocabulary here, but like, when I heard the story from the group that's renovating the arena, and they said all these really wonderful things about how amazing it was going to be, my initial reaction is, wait, what is he talking about? The Baltimore arena? Like, where's that guy talking
Are
about?
you one of those guys that feel like we can't have nice things?
No, it's not that we can't have nice things, but it's their story is less. Well, it's equal. They're building a building to support what I had no idea existed, and that was the potential for
something better than a sports franchise to some degree, because they would have 120 dates a year.
Yeah, maybe? Serious music acts wanting to come to Baltimore because there are reasons that the layperson doesn't really understand about. Like if they're going to play in DC, they can't play at what's the one in Columbia? That
Merriweather.
Yeah, Merriweather, because it's too close. So they got to get outside a certain perimeter, and the minute you rearrange some of the stuff at the arena and you make it easy for the band to move in and move out, all of a sudden your appeal goes like way up because, well, now we can slip another 3 dates in because it only takes us a day to load in and load out because it's so much easier.
Hockey and basketball, and I had a wonderful conversation with several people from the group, including one of the leaders in from LA. And, I'm pretty astute when it comes to this stuff, right? I mean, I've been doing this 35 years,
right?
Concerts, arenas, backstage. I was in that elevator at the Baltimore Civic Center Arena, First Mariner, Royal Farms, up and down. It was the slowest elevator in the history of the world, the press elevator. It was slow in 1984. I mean, in 1984, you're like, you got to be kidding me. Like, how long is it going to take me to get to the roof of a 4th floor building? And how many rats along the way, and all that. the Blast offices, the Skipjacks offices, the Bandits offices, the Spirits offices, the Bay Runners offices. I can go through the list of all the lacrosse teams and being backstage with Steven Tyler's head on my shoulder when I'm 15 years old. Like, I have so many memories in that building, but it was time. It had always been time. And you're thinking, well, what are they going to do to renovate it? And I actually saw an old tape of Kevin Byrne talking about Cleveland Stadium and art. It was that Memorial Stadium tribute that they did 2 years ago. And he was talking about renovating the old Cleveland Stadium. Like, that almost happened, right? Like, if Art wanted to stay in Cleveland, they would have 1995 renovate. It would have looked like Comiskey Park. It would have been. It would have been worse than FedEx Field because that was a new structure, right? So when you build these buildings, and we've all been in phases of all kinds of buildings, right? Like Memorial Stadium. Your dad was in it probably when it was considered nice. Now Camden Yards needs $1 billion. Steve Bisciotti's poor. He's going broke. They need to build a casino. So they're doing all of that with these sports franchises. And we've always had this mindset about the arena being relic-y, unworthy. I always thought it was kitschy awesome. I'm going to miss the old one. I never went down there and cried one last time, and I wish I had because of my dad and I seeing the Nova Scotia Voyageurs come in 1973. And
sure.
So I would say for the thought of an arena here, I would think that it would be the old Cleveland Stadium thing where they would, as they've done 3 different times, slap a coat of paint on it. My man Phil Jackman called it the glass menagerie when they built the glass frontage and they moved the old ticket booths that were in the front to the side when I used to get with the circus and wrestling.
Right.
I thought, like, whenever it comes time to do an arena here, it'll be some half-assed version, that's a coat of paint and some new seats and whatever. I know this isn't that, and I haven't spent a whole lot of time like looking at the diagrams and seeing who's going to sponsor the Bacardi level or the Jack Daniels level, like any of that. I just know I've been to Tulsa recently, Tulsa, Oklahoma. They don't have any sports franchises there. I've been in their building. I know you went to Austin, and I talked to Rosenfeld about that, and the old building was like the Hershey Park Arena. I saw Springsteen there 20 years ago. It literally was like this circular rodeo.
Right.
You could smell cow shit when you're in there while you're listening to Springsteen, right? It was like going to a concert after the circus, or going to a hockey game after the circus. I would just say for you've set foot in a vision of what the building is, right? The one in Austin.
Yeah, but this, I mean, if you listen to them, that has to support UT basketball, so it's a more traditional ring. What the arena has going for it is, because the stage is at one end of the building and that basically cuts the building off, it really is a music venue, right? It's not, we're going to put the band here and then we're not going to sell all those seats behind it, and then you have to worry about acoustics and everything else with that. It isn't, they don't have that issue. So really, number of seats all of a sudden becomes very comparable to all these really fancy NCAA basketball arenas. I don't know that it touches like an NBA arena, but
that ship has sailed. Building this arena means we're not getting a basketball or a hockey team.
Yeah, well, I mean,
not that we were last week or last month or even
Right.
last century, right? Like, I've been at this 31 years taking phone. Hey, Nasty, well, how can we get an NHL team here? Hey, we go get the NBA. And I'm thinking, like, I announced when the Bullets came up here in the 90s. I was the guy on the floor saying, George Murison, Manu Bol. I did all of that. We were never getting a team, and I don't think the notion that we put Tulsa's arena here, which is like, dude, go to Tulsa. The Tulsa arena is the nicest arena I've ever been in my life, and it's in Tulsa.
I think what it guarantees is that if you were to try and get a basketball or ice hockey team, it would require the building of a new building somewhere, probably not in the downtown area. You know what I mean? Like, it would be an entire
that ship is sailed. We're a baseball and football town. Let's focus on that.
I'm with you.
Right? Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. One of the interesting things, and I mean, I don't know anything about arena acoustics, but like there's something about, because it was built the way it was built, which I'll use the word crappy, but that isn't really the word that they're using. There's not this level where the sound gets broken up. So they really like talked about how much all the musicians want to play in it. And these just were concepts. Like obviously these
That
guys,
sounds like a sales pitch to me. That sounds
that's
like
what I mean.
B-ish.
It is
Yeah.
very much in their
That's
best
B-ish. You
interest.
know, okay, fine.
Right.
If you want to talk to me about getting dates with I don't, the Harry Styles kid, right? Like,
Right.
because he's touring in April and May, can't play Madison Square Garden, Philadelphia, Washington, Pittsburgh, any of those hockey rinks at that time of the year because you can't get dates,
Right.
especially in places that have NBA and NHL, right? And I
Sure.
just mentioned 3 out of the 4 have both, right? So holding those dates, even for a minor league, even in Hershey, Hershey has to hold dates in April and May for the Hershey Bears to play playoff games, right?
Right.
So these arenas, secondary markets become primary markets certain times of the year, and I buy what they're selling.
Right.
Just so you know, it's not a Baltimore
Yeah.
positive thing.
Right.
I'm buying that the football team has taken the city on a ride. They play 10 times a year. They bring in one concert a year. They used to bring in lacrosse and can't anymore. They bring in Notre Dame Navy once every 2 years, whatever they do, right?
Right.
That's cool, but that doesn't put the city to work. That doesn't
Right.
change anything. It helps Federal Hill on a game day. I mean, I spent the early part of the week talking about the empty seats and talking about the $15 tickets. And Dennis Kalatzis talked about the 6 tickets he ate. And Leonard Raskin talked about the 2 tickets he ate last week. And a lot of people ate tickets last week. So I'll just say this is a concept. And they told me 120 dates a year. And I thought, that's a lot, but it's not a lot when you consider that Merriweather does 30 or 40 in the summer, and the Jiffy Lube does 40 or 50 in a like. So I'm thinking to myself, and especially if they could cut it off and make it be a 2,800, make it an intimate and a big play. I don't know about those plans, but if they could get more theater-y type of things, maybe they could do another 30 or 50 shows a year. But it feels to me like if they're parking cars down there, 100 plus, they give me 120. Fair enough. Guys, go get them, right?
Right.
But if you do more than 81, you're doing more than the baseball team, right? So
Right.
I'm thinking to myself, this is 100 nights. They say 120. You might say 80. I'll give them 100 because they're putting a lot of money into this, where it might not be Harry Styles every night. It might not be Bono every night or whatever, but it's going to be something that hotel rooms, restaurants, if we're really trying to stimulate, the Inner Harbor's still 4 blocks away. Camden Yards is still 3 blocks away. Like 83 dumps off there, 95 cuts in there. I've seen the taillights, dude, when Garth Brooks is in town. You know what I mean? Like I lived on the 23rd floor. I didn't matter what country ass show was there. I didn't care about. I saw that there were 10,000 people in the city eating dinner at Amici's, and that's really important, dude. Really important.
Well, what I didn't understand, and maybe you can help me with this too, is like you mentioned Harry Styles. Harry Styles only played 4 cities in America. Like 4 cities. Can you imagine if Baltimore was the 5th city? And like how far people would come, to your point about hotel rooms.
I've been that guy, dude. I'm the guy that travels to Quebec to see Pearl Jam and runs into Kenny Mayne on the street, who came in from Connecticut, and everybody there was from America because they weren't speaking French. And like literally, I am a destination concert guy. I mean, I'm going to Toronto next weekend to see Bono. My wife and I are planning a weird Billy Joel, Lionel Richie, Sheryl Crow thing in Atlanta in a couple weeks. Like, I am the guy. Atlanta is bringing me to Atlanta for 48 hours to see their aquarium 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, and to see my mother's hometown because they brought Lionel Richie, Billy Joel, and Sheryl Crow together on one night. I'm that guy. Oakview, I'm that guy. I'm the guy that's going to go see Bruno Mars because he's there.
So I think it fits with this. I have a growing opinion, like we're like undercover top secret city. You know, like on the surface,
if we could just fix the crime, right?
Well,
that would be the thing, right?
on the surface, everyone knows us for drugs and crime
The
and
Wire.
HBO specials and all that kind of stuff. But there's a really strong, I would say, kind of underground food scene. Like it's a foodie town. If you
Definitely.
if you like that, like you can
Dude,
come
I
here,
walked out of the
you
Pendry the other
can
night, and
kill it.
forget how nice the Pendry is, and the Pendry's
Yep.
like really nice. I walked out onto the street at 9:30 on a Monday night, and I'm thinking about these Oakview people that are in and all the rollers that came in and Farrell, like all Rayla, all that stuff, right? I walked out onto the street at Fells Point. My car was parked where the Green Turtle used to be, right next to the new Atlas place, right on Broadway. I parked my car, pulled in. I went to Ekabin, had some broccoli with chopsticks, delicious. And I walked out of that the old movie set from Homicide, right, which
Right.
is now the
Right.
Pendry, and
Right.
I'm looking at the waterfront, and I'm looking at Pat Russell's places and Cooper's and whatnot, and I'm about to walk on the cobblestone, and I'm seeing the Admiral's Cup, and the Admiral fell, and I'm about to go up onto the square. It's very quiet. There wasn't much. It was Monday night at 9 o'clock. It was
Sure.
quiet,
Sure.
and I walked out, and I thought to myself, no wonder these people are impressed. You feel like you
Right.
just walked into Europe. You just feel like you walked into something that you wanted to walk in and get a beer. Maybe, and I effed up. I should have gone into Bertha's and gotten mussels. I parked. God, I'm a jerk.
Right.
I'm
One last
sorry.
time.
I'm such
Yeah.
a. I've still never had mussels at Bertha's.
Mm,
Makes me a
it
jerk,
happens.
doesn't it? I think so.
I don't know.
I feel guilty. I feel
I
dirty.
My favorite story about the Pendry is I challenge people all the time. Find me a 4 or 5, whatever, superstar, really schwanky, beautiful hotel, and then show me where I can walk across the street and sit on a nasty, sticky bar stool and have a draft Budweiser in a bar that's 200 years old with a live band playing. You know what I mean? Like
You're mentioning
that.
the cat's eye. Now you're putting me in the mood.
I'm just saying that whole experience down there, you can't do that anywhere else. That is a super unique thing, under the radar, really
You
cool.
can't build that in White Marsh.
Right. I would, even though I know the Pendry would like lose their mind and it can never happen, like you shouldn't be able to drive on Thames Street. That's my opinion. Like, just get rid of the cars there, move all the restaurants out into the cobblestone. Like, let's make that Europe. Like it would be pretty awesome. But whatever. Like, things are great as they are. So I
No,
think
but I
it's
just
really
walked out and
special.
I felt that vibe of like we have some special stuff here. Not just to mention crab cakes and football and crab cakes and football
Right.
and Ravens and football and crab cakes and football. There's a lot more going on here, and I think for the concerts and the downtown scene, and um, I, I, I'm encouraged. And
I,
this is an
you know,
investment, a massive investment in bringing people from the suburbs into the city for entertainment. And that if the city loses that, if the city isn't a place that's the draw for whatever reason, we're about to get a new governor, who's going to be invested in Baltimore. This is a time for resurrection for the city. I mean, it really is. And this is a piece of it, but it's a piece that some people that we know are financially buying into. And that's nice, that's good. But somewhere in Aberdeen, there's somebody that's going to buy 4 tickets to come down and see Garth somebody doing the POC something with the twangy Nashville thing that I don't know about, and to see the Ricky Billy Bob, whatever the country thing is, that's going to pack the city for 3 days. Kenny Chesney, I don't know, you name it. I'm not a country music guy, but I'll tell
right.
you this: all these people that are, red flag, red hat, will never go to the city. Bring Garth Brooks into the city, and they come.
Right.
Like it's just the way it is.
I'm
All the
wondering.
people that I'm afraid of the city. Put McCartney in the city, they
Right.
come. Billy Joel, they
Right.
come. They do.
Right. I
They
get
do.
it. Do you think that they'll still be able to do like Disney on Ice? Like, is that gone now, or
I
is that?
don't. You know what? I got to
Yeah.
get them on and find out because Bill, I'm not being mean or anything, and this isn't even me being a doubting Thomas or whatever. I haven't really looked at the stuff or the
Yeah.
virtual or the 3D. I haven't looked at any of it because honestly, it's a little bit like if Joanna and Chip came to the house and they said, we're going to do the house. I probably would just say to them, I'll be on the beach. Tell me when
Right.
it's done. I
Right.
want to walk in and have a moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? I almost don't. You're laughing at me. Do you think,
No, I know
am I
what you
being
mean.
derelict in my responsibilities as a
No, not at
journalist?
all. No, not at all. No, I think that now is the right time. I mean, I think that it is purpose driven, right?
I want to walk in to see Springsteen and be like, holy
like
shit. I want to cry when I walk in there and just say, A, what happened to the old place, right? I mean,
right.
that'll be a piece of me. But like, I want it to be awesome, but I don't want to see pictures of. I don't.
I
I
get it.
want to show up on the beach and see the
I
sunset.
I think the part, one of the other factors. I hear what you're saying. You want to go in, but like these guys say that, and you figure they are a management group, right? That's managing facilities all over the country, basketball teams, whatever, blah blah blah, all kinds of
I
stuff.
went to their building up in Long Island,
Yeah.
the new
So
building. Yeah.
right. So they're on these calls trying to book talent, right, for the different venues that they have. Well, they know. I mean, they make the claim that the two cities that the musicians want to come to is Austin and Baltimore. And I think it's for two different reasons, but like Austin, because it's a great place. Baltimore has some financial incentives to bridge a gap between DC and Philly where you can stop and play. It needs to be easy to load in and load out, and you'll get more shows and all that. So, but they're on the phone with all the talent. So I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be pretty amazing. I wonder if I always felt like Disney on Ice and the circus, and maybe like the dirt bikes or the monster trucks or even wrestling for that sake, was the connector point between 10-year-old boys and girls from the county and the city. Like that was the magical journey that you took.
Why else would you go to the city?
Yeah, that was just the
If you
magical
have a
journey.
10-year-old kid, you live in Harford County, you live in Howard
Right.
County, Carroll County, whatever, Baltimore County, and you're going to take your family into the city, what would it be for? It wouldn't be for drinking in Fells Point, right? But if you're
Right.
going to take your family into the city, are you going to Port Discovery? Are you going to the aquarium? Are you going to the Science Center?
Right.
Are you eating at Phillips? Are you going to a museum? A lot of museums. I mean, B&L, we can go through art, we can go through all of that, right? But what you're doing with your kid, you're saying
Well,
the
it's very
first time they go and buy a ticket for something other than a baseball game, maybe if they're
well, that's
white,
it's a
they go to baseball games. Let's be
it's a
honest, right?
totally terrible, yeah, it's a totally terrible analogy that just shows my age, because reality is that memory, that connection point only exists for people who knew the Orioles from Memorial Stadium and there was no football team. So that is the reason why the arena was my connection point to the city for a period,
What
as a
did you see
child.
there when you were a kid? Because I can name 100 things, but name what you saw.
Mostly it was the skipjacks and the blast.
Okay.
Um, we used to go down, like I remember they hosted an NCAA first round or second round when we were like 16. So that was like, didn't really tell mom and dad, but we were driving to the city and we were just
Was that the
scalping
Oklahoma
tickets.
State
Oh
and
yeah.
Temple? That was
Yeah.
94.
Yeah,
You were
something like
born in
that.
78.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a great day. Ended up scalping tickets all day until we got seats like right behind the basket on the
I had the
floor. So
worst
that
crush on
was
an Oklahoma
awesome.
State cheerleader. I got to be honest. Yeah, it's true.
Well, that's easy to do too. So I get it. Um, and then as a parent, taking my kids there for the circus or whatever ice capade deal was going, I mean, that was, and the real is, I'll tell you, yeah, I don't know. I think
I could do hours of
right,
stories about the building.
I know.
I mean, like just hours on my childhood. Forget Nasty Nestor,
Right,
media,
right.
any of that. My dad and I getting on the bus in 1979 or 80. We had a snow day, and my dad was off work. We got on the bus and went down to watch the Clippers practice, and Kim Spencer gave me a stick, and Jerry Cha-Cha gave me a puck. Jim Weaver gave me his goalie stick that I took into the alley, and I had a goalie stick to play with that was broken that I played
Nice.
with for 3 years.
Right.
Like, but my dad took me down. The first time I was there, I met Howard Mash. What's the S stand for?
Yeah.
Salt. They threw that away. So That was part of the ad for the Clippers because we listened to the Clippers on the radio too. So
Got it.
Clippers for me, but my childhood circus for sure. And the candy apple, they always like on your teeth, you always broke your tooth off.
Yeah.
And the little flickery thing that
Oh
would make
yeah.
lights, everybody
Yeah.
had to buy that at the circus
Oh
from
yeah.
the man. And I remember my parents took me to the Harlem Globetrotters, and I got to
I
see
believe
Meadowlark
yep. I think I did
and Curly
Globetrotters
Neal,
once.
right? And they bought me a balloon, and I didn't understand the concept of helium.
Yeah.
And it went up to the roof, and I remember crying, sobbing courtside. They moved me down courtside. I was like a part of the paper act, like when I was a
Yeah.
little boy.
Yeah.
So I like the arena, and then forget all the backstage and the concerts and Paul Stanley, just like all
I
of that.
did. I played one season of soccer. It was probably middle school maybe, and I only played like 2 weeks. I came on the team 2 weeks before they were scheduled to play at halftime of the Blast game on the floor. And that was the only reason I did it. And they needed some players. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll run up. I want to play on the field. Sure, let's go. So yeah, it's little
I almost
things
had
like
my
that.
jaw broken at halftime. Gary Stein brought this up with me a couple weeks ago. I took a ball to my chin that sort of TMJ'd me like straight
Yeah,
back.
sure.
I went down. Marty McGinty came running out. They thought they were going to have to take me in. And it hurt so bad, dude. Like I
Yeah.
was Advilled up, but like I got kicked in the face, on the field there.
Right. Yeah.
Man, I could just go through the memories,
I
but
know.
like I want more memories, and that would
Well,
be
and they're going to
the new
be
memories in the way that
right.
Camden Yards created new memories, in the way that the Ravens, the Colts. We had 14 years of nothing. We've had a long time here with that arena. And listen, I know Frank Remish isn't my biggest fan, but he's done a hell of a job. And I would say that to anybody. I would say, like, the Rolling Stones played there. U2 played there. Like, they've gotten huge acts there. The Eagles, like, I've been to big shows there when they shouldn't have been getting those kinds of shows. And Springsteen twice, now about to be 3 times, right? So Prince played there. I was talking to Juan Webster from the Pendry, and he said, man, I saw Prince there. And I'm thinking, I saw the Globetrotters there in 72. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
I have so many memories, and that it's a sacred space to me, much more so than Camden Yards. Like,
Sure.
honestly, it's a sacred space to me.
I'm with you. And I'm excited. Like it's almost a really healthy, fun transition, right? To like love that for what it was and then have the optimism about what it's going to become. And
Are they getting John Mayer? That's all I want to know. Is John Mayer coming?
I don't know. I mean, they make it sound like they can get anybody, and that the appeal of the arena will now add the desire for people to come play here.
Can they make it smell like it used to? Like popcorn and fried something?
No, probably not.
It always smelled like a carnival when you walked in, didn't it?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
It had a good smell. It had a carnival. It had I'm at the arena, and I paid to get in, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to, I wish, like, I missed the smell of the bathroom. It had that musty Memorial Stadium vibe to the men's rooms there.
The last 10 times probably I was there, I was amazed that even though the floor looked like it was clean, your shoes still stuck to it. And that was unavoidable. Like you stuck to the floor.
No, I don't. I disagree strongly with that sentiment. And on behalf of Frank Remish, who doesn't like me, but I'm fine. I always found it to be impeccably clean.
It was clean.
For what it was. Like, I was amazed the last 10 years. Every time I would go to anything, I'm like, they're never tearing this down. It's here forever. It's mine. And I'm glad somebody's taking good care of it. That's literally my heart of heart feeling about that building. Every time I've been there for anything the last 10 years, I'm like, I love this place, and I'm glad somebody's keeping it clean. I felt that. I didn't feel sticky at all.
My comment was not that it wasn't clean. It always looked very clean. I'm just telling you, whether it was psychological or not, when you walk around, you feel
1961,
20, 30, 40, 50 years of spilled sodas and cotton candy, and just you can just feel it, and your feet stick wherever you go.
Do you remember
And
when they
that's not a
sold
terrible, that's not a
the
bad
caramel
thing.
corn in the blocks? Do you remember that? They were like bricks.
Oh no, I can't.
God, man.
Sorry.
They had the best French fries behind Section 206. French fries at the arena during Skipjack's era were phenomenal.
Right. Yeah, I don't.
No.
No, I can't do any of that. I mean, the popcorn always. Like I remember always getting a puck, right? Like somehow.
Well, there were only 30 people at the games, dude. Everybody got a buck.
That
Bill
that
Cole
could
is
have been
here.
it.
He's Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy.
Seemed like a
He
lot
does.
more at the time.
Is there anything else we could talk about other than the arena? Because I mean, you want to say anything about where the Ravens are, or I mean, I spent an hour talking about my press credential with Mike Rosigliano last week, having a crab cake, and this has been an interesting season, and we're about to like have a lot of time off, and they don't play at home for a couple of weeks, and like Tom Brady and the GOAT and all that stuff. Watching the Phillies have fun and watching their fans have fun. When we're talking about hope and Baltimore positive and the arena and all that, it's given me some hope that at some point somebody not named Angelos might own the Baltimore Orioles, right? And that all this money that's going to get infused, and Wes Moore's going to have to give $1.2 billion to, I saw Nashville gave $2.2 billion to build, to get a Super Bowl, essentially, right? Like they're going to build the Nashville super duper stadium thing there that's going to get on the rotation for them, because they have convention center space and they have hotels and they're a tourist town and they have all those things that we want to have, or we felt like we had in the 90s. But baseball and its possibility to revive and come back to life, just, hey man, drive up to Philadelphia on Saturday night and watch the game at a bar, right? Like literally.
I think my biggest comment about the Ravens right now is, did you watch the F1 race in Austin, Texas?
I did not.
Okay, so that's whatever. I DVR all of it so I can watch it when it works for me. But I'm telling you, it's a growing thing. Everybody talks about the Netflix special and all that stuff, and now there's all this renewed American interest in F1. If you looked at what was going on in Austin for this race, 400,000 people over like 3 days or whatever, it's pretty freaking cool.
Dude, I ran into the IRL folks. I ran into Pete Collier like 2 weeks ago on my birthday. Like we tried it, right? I mean, I tore my house up, tore my neighborhood up.
That's not a Baltimore thing as much as a sport. I hate sport, whatever, motorsports. I've never been a motorsports fan. Like, I can appreciate a good car. I like good car, but I'm not into like any kind of motorsport.
Your dad's nuts about it, right?
Yeah, but that's not my thing.
Yeah, but it's in your blood.
Thing.
I mean, it's in your face because your father loves it, right?
I don't know about that. Yeah, but there is so much to like about this. There is an element of like the missing pieces that the Americans don't play the game, right? Like there's one American team, there's no American drivers. Where next year we'll have 3 American races. So America's like the rookie.
So Austin, Miami, what's the other one?
It's going to be in Vegas next year.
Vegas. Okay. All right.
Down the strip, it's going to be insane, right? Like crazy, like 200 miles an hour going down the strip. It's pretty crazy idea.
You know what, man? What we had to do to roads in Baltimore to allow cars to go 200 miles an hour.
I get it.
And that concrete out there at $120 for 6 months of the year. Come on. You lay tile on roofs, dude. You know all about heat.
Oh no, this is so crazy. Like, yeah, these things look impeccable, but you see every bump, and there's something to be said for that. Like, if it was super smooth, it wouldn't be that hard. So, I don't know. There's a lot of fun. It's just, I never gave it any time as a kid. It was never a thing, and growing up, and now only because I watched the Netflix thing, I kind of got sucked into it. But there's a lot there to enjoy and like, and it tickles a lot of different parts.
It's not a hometown thing. You know what I mean? It's like, it's different when the Phillies can win a World Series for what that means for Philadelphia.
Oh, of course. I'm not even trying to draw a comparison. I'm just saying, when I look at expending energy and time to watch the Ravens game, and then there's this other thing. This other thing is very much competing with my attention span.
Okay.
And
Well,
I
so
would
was
have
the
never,
baseball game in
and I
Philadelphia.
would have never guessed that, right? I would have never guessed
Right.
that. It's very weird. It's very interesting.
Well,
And I think that's happening around the country. I don't think that's just me, right? Like this is a thing that's
and you could
happening.
bet on it, right?
Of course, I'm
Yeah.
sure, but it's also keep in mind that we're still trying to figure out how to get millennials to spend all their money on football and baseball like, the Gen Xers and the baby boomers did, right? Like we still haven't figured out how to make that.
The
And
empty
I
seats at
guess
the football game, is that shocking to you? I
um
mean, if I had called you and said I got 4 tickets for your family, you know, what's the, and they'll say, well, the city's not safe, and
no,
okay,
no,
fair
no.
enough.
It's price.
Nobody says
It's
I'm not going
price.
to the game at 1 o'clock on Sunday because they think they're going to get mugged. Maybe it's the pain in the ass factor, maybe it's the cost for sure. But if it were free and if it were like,
It's totally a cost thing. There are tens of thousands of people who would go to a football game if somebody could give them the tickets or the tickets were, affordable to them.
tickets were $20 online Sunday morning.
Yeah, but online is that's just requires somebody to have effort. I'm saying if you wanted uh, a blue collar family to spend, $10 for a ticket and buy 4 tickets and get PSLs and do it, like they would love that opportunity. But I can't do it for $40 a game. You know what I mean? Like it's not possible. So that's just out
40s.
of
I mean,
reach.
that's not the entryway. The entryway is more like 90 to 120.
That's what I mean. It's just not. It's not. But if
My
the
dad, when I was a kid, Orioles tickets were cheap, and to buy a Colts ticket, it was $5. To get into an Orioles game was $1.25. And going to a Colts game for my dad at that time, even the cheap tickets was it was a decision. It was a
right,
decision to have
right.
Colts tickets, right? It was a
I
decision
don't disagree.
to spend to get to mail a check to Dick Cass for $3,200. It's the decision. That's a
I
week in
mean,
Ocean City. That's a trip. That's a thing. Right?
anybody who's feeding their family is trying to adjust to how much more it costs. No one is spending any time trying to look for affordable football tickets. That's just not in on the
Right.
radar. Uh, if if the ticket swapping universe was easier, I still think that the mobile app stuff is a little bit of an impediment to the current demographics of the football fans, but maybe not. I don't know.
Well, I figured out because I go to
There are
concerts, but
Right. There are people who want to go. Like those tickets just don't make it to them. That's my impression.
okay, well, fair enough. Give everybody your impression of roofing and what is going on in the corporate roof space as well as the solar space.
Both are going pretty gangbuster. We haven't really seen much of a slowdown. I think it's, the supply chain issues are getting better. We haven't seen any kind of pricing pullback. So, we're still seeing inflationary trends in the building materials. But it's sort of status quo from wherever last time you and I talked. Like, if you need to do a roof, you need to start talking about it a year ahead of time to make sure we can get everything. Solar's wildly better with some of the stuff that was in the Inflation Reduction Act and the incentives that already existed and rising electricity rates and everything else. Like, yeah, it's a no-brainer for many. It's at least worth the conversation. So
Come back into reality for people to, roof. Let's talk solely. Look at my options. You can do
yep.
that at coldroofing.com. Bill's in the front of WNST and all we do here at BaltimorePositive.com. It's great chatting with you about the arena thing because I know you went down to Austin. You, along with Mike Rosenfeld, did some exploration on that. And now that it's like real, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like, apparently Leonard Raskin's sitting on 2 Springsteen tickets that he's got for me, and that show feels like I'm looking at the flights in early February now, and I'm like, hey, it's getting there, I mean, all
Right.
those points I got back from Chad Steele, I mean, all the New Orleans and Tampa and Providence flights are coming back now. I'm like, I'm going
Right.
to see me some Springsteen out in the Midwest,
Right. That'll be fun.
All right, man. Glory
Appreciate you.
days ahead. There he goes. Bill Cole, Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy. I drink the Royal Farms coffee out of the Cole Roofing mug, at least until I break it. It is pretty good, just like Cole Roofing roofs. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore positive.